second show. Tonight, I'm surrounded by all these beautiful women. We have youngsters that are going to challenge us today. And the parents are just going to watch and try to answer as much as they can. So the parents that are here today are here not necessarily to represent all the parents, but they are going to try as much as possible to answer the questions that are going to be posed to us. So before we start, I'm just going to go around everybody, introduce yourselves, just say a little bit about who you are so that the viewers out there can be able to know who these people are that are talking to them today, especially the youth. So we can start with you, Kayla.
Okay. Evening, everybody. I'm Kayla. I'm 23 years old, turning 24 later this year. Been working for about 18 months. Definitely don't consider myself an adult yet. But yeah, definitely keen to have these conversations. They're sometimes difficult conversations. They can be fun. Yeah, I think that this is going to be very, very interesting, and I'm keen to dive in. So thank you for having me.
All right, Ilham.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ilham. I'm 24 years old. I have a master's degree from Wits University in economics, and I just started my first full-time job at Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation. I'm a researcher. I do social and economic research, and one of the sectors that I work in often is education and youth development, and it also happens to be my personal research interests. So I'm very happy to be here today to share like my knowledge as a youth myself and in the areas that I work in. And yeah, I actually studied with Kayla, so that's how we know each other. So this is exciting.
Wonderful. Buntle, are you Buntle or Tulwana or Spirit? Who are you?
It depends on how I'm feeling. It depends on this. I'm joking. No, it's Tulwana, but Buntle, I think it's easier for everybody. So hi guys, my name is Buntle. I feel slightly older because I'm 26, turning 27 in actually a few weeks. First, I'd like to say thank you so much for involving me in this conversation. I feel like intergenerational chats are so important because not many people have the kind of platform to address this with the adults in their life. So I think that this conversation is very important. What we're going to be talking about is very important. So I'm very, very excited. I am very much in the working field. I've been working for like the past 4 years now, and I'm a social media manager and I work at an agency. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here and I can't wait to see how the conversation progresses.
Thank you, Buntle.
Awesome.
We've got Jody and Chris. Hi, Jody and Chris. They've connected from Australia. Hi. Thank you so much for coming through, guys. What time is it? What time?
It's 4:05. It's 4 a.m. I'm just making some coffee.
Oh, hectic.
You are amazing.
That's dedication.
Yes, dedication.
Wow.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. So, so we're just doing introductions so that the viewers out there can be able to see who's talking to them today. So we've just done the youth, and I'm sure you can just do it briefly, and then we can get going with our discussion for tonight. For this morning, for this morning.
Okay, hi, I'm Jody. Matson and I, and Natsi and Milka, we've known each other for a long time. I'm so, hi guys, I'm so excited to see faces because we were living in Johannesburg for 16 years and we moved, I'm Australian, so we moved back to Oz for the kids to have a little experience, and then a pandemic decided to arrive. So it's so good to see everyone, actually. I don't want to do an intro. I'm so happy to be here and love helping.
Yeah, good to have you.
Hi.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm Chris.
Jody's Jody.
And I was told just last night that I'm on this discussion this morning, which is wonderful. And Jody said,
Such a lot.
Getting up at 4 a.m. Let's do it. And so, anyway, really excited to be here and listening to what you guys are talking about and to see how we can help and participate. So, yeah.
And maybe just to add like a little bit of professionalism, Chris and I have been studying human behavior and personal development since
2006.
Well, officially since 2006. So that's kind of why Matt's asked us to come in. So we've been working with people of all ages, young, little tiny ones, all the way to like sort of older people for many years.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much, guys, for joining. All right, Milka.
Hi. You want me to go on the topic that I said I will talk on?
No, you're just saying hello to everyone. You've said hello to me, but you haven't said hello to everyone. Just hello, and yeah.
I almost got off. Hi, Judy, so good to see you once more. Hi, Unati. Hi, Matileng, Buntle, Ilham, and Kayla. And I'm really pleased to be part of this conversations, you know, and yeah, we're ready to start for tonight. I'm Milka. I'm doing life coaching, and I'm very passionate about, you know, human behavior. And what makes me to be here is to have realized how we get absorbed in ourselves than being in present and being engaging and interactive. So we easily get absorbed and we're not seeing what we're doing in life, and it just gets complicated, and we're going to talk about things like that.
Thanks, Milka. Unati, just a quick hello.
Hi. Okay, so just a formal one. My name is Unati. I am a businesswoman and a strong and passionate human being about human behavior. And I am so excited for these young people to join us and to be with us on this platform for engagement. And I can't wait for the interaction. So thank you so much. And lovely engagement, guys.
I thought Unati was part of the youth. I thought you were like our age group.
Really?
Wow, guys. No.
Maybe
I'm
she's
the radical adult.
Okay,
I'm
maybe
the
she's
radical
sitting on the
adult.
fence. We'll see. All right. I'm now opening it up to you guys, the youth. Who wants to start any of the questions that you send through to say, I want to know why adults or why parents do certain things, so that the adults here on the platform can be able to give you their opinion of how things have been happening or how things could be changed. You know, in school, they just point. They say, you.
I don't mind starting. I think a very important conversation would be sexual health. And growing up with a lot of my peers, it would seem like a taboo subject to speak to your parents about. But I feel like that's the first point of contact that you would have to speak about. So I know there's no manual to parenting, and I know there's some conversations that make you guys uncomfortable. So I think that it's very important to explore that. Like, let's talk about some conversations that some parents may feel a little bit uncomfortable about. And if they are, then what measures should they take to make sure that their kids are in a safe space, are getting the right information, and are overall protected? I think that's a very important subject to touch on.
Yeah, that's a very big one. It went like, because because initially the topics that you sent to me are like you wanted to know around cultural and religious pressures on young people. You wanted to understand. So quite a lot of you, not just the three of you, but there are many other young people that are very interested in mental health. So that's one of the things that I thought is going to be part of this: identity crisis, toxicity of the social media, parents being dictatorship. That's us. Discipline and not being very sensitive. But sexuality is one of those big topics that we can start with. And maybe you can ask what exactly it is that you want to know that parents could do or not do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, even when we're addressing all those subjects, I think the key thing I'm aiming at here is communication. You know what I mean? And if you have a child, let's talk about your identity. Because I know growing up, I went through a lot of phases. I was emo, I was goth, I was punk. My mother was very supportive because she understood that I was trying to find myself and position myself in the world. But you get a lot of parents, and maybe it hones in with the whole dictatorship, where they feel like they, in a way to protect their child, I can't speak for parents, I'm not one, but they would, you know what I mean, reprimand them for things like self-discovery. So I think that even when we're talking about sexual health, the aspect of communication, I think it's very, very important. And in that position, if your child just decides that, okay, listen, I don't know, I want to be goth. I want to cut my hair. I want to paint my nails black. In that kind of a situation, how are parents supposed to approach that? And I just open conversation for other people as well. Kay, I don't know if you guys know, but how do you think a parent should approach that? If you want to find your own identity and you feel like you're being stunted because they know what's best, you know?
We've already put you in a box, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Unathi, do you want to come in there? She's frozen.
Okay.
Okay, Milka?
Unathi, are you able to talk?
I think we've lost her a bit. I'll find her.
Oh, okay. How should parents go about talking about, you know, sexuality and sexual activities? I think being parent is not an easy thing because they worry a lot, you know. They worry that should you try, and let me give this direct example that some children, their genital existence are more active at a younger age than other children because of our level of maturity is not the same. So if you have a child who expresses him or herself to be active in that way in finding themselves, I'm sure it is scary and worrying to parents to say that, should you do it at 15? And what if you get ruined by being pregnant? What if you would choose a sexuality that they are not comfortable with? Because of ego and stigma is something that we get easily attached to. So being parent is a difficult thing, but also I think it needs openness. You know, it needs to be honest and real with your children. We're repeating this, we mentioned this last week, to say that, you know, sometimes be vulnerable to your children and say that, I don't know how to do, you know, parenting in a way that you would come out and be a safe, independent child who didn't have, you know, scars that comes with your experiences, and navigate and negotiate life together. So what parents would do out of panic, they rather impose their religion on you, impose their beliefs on you, and communication is not something that is put forward, but instead of our emotions, we tend to react to what children does or do. So what needs to happen is for us to negotiate and do parenting together and try to show the children that to this extent you can do it, and to this extent I'm afraid that you may get lost.
Okay.
I get that, right? But my thing is, I feel like as a parent, your job is to advise, you know? Like, for example, let's talk about the whole religion thing. Let's say you're Christian and your child decides to be Hindu, right? Obviously, you don't know a lot about the Hindu culture, and you try to kind of impose your Christianity on the child because you think it's what's best for them, which I feel like is not the way to go. So I just feel like, also, the thing is that between parents and kids, it's this power dynamic, you know what I mean? Like, if you're the parents, you run the house, you buy the food, you pay the bills. So there becomes this power dynamic between yourself and the parent, which puts you in a position where you feel like you can't openly communicate with them. So as I said, like, I'm not a parent and stuff, but I understand a lot of people being put in a position where they feel like they can't vocalize themselves in situations where they feel like parents are imposing on them as opposed to advising them. So yeah, but I understand the whole thing of co-parenting together. I mean, as I said, nobody's got a manual to be a parent, nobody's got a manual to be a kid. So I guess communication is one of those key aspects involved.
So on
Can I
one
respond?
side, yeah, I'll come to you. So on one side, Milka says it's to protect, because as a parent, you're worried about the child. But on the other hand, you're saying as a young person, you know what you want. So where does it take us, Unathi?
So I think Buntle has a very, very big point, an extremely huge point. But I think with regards to parenting, what I've realized, and I've realized that a lot of parents maybe don't realize this, there's a time shift between being a parent and being a child. And parents, I do not think they are as wise as their children. The children have a little bit more wisdom than parents, because that's how the children start challenging their parents with their views about what they think life is. And it's specifically religion, because we are taught by our parents that this is how you need to view the world in terms of a religion. When I come as a youth and say I want to be something else, and that's not allowed, they do not know how to communicate in my values. So I think the time gap, and it creates the challenge between the parent and the child, or the parent and the young person. So there's a very big parent and child dynamic between the two. But I think time also plays a huge factor in terms of what we know and understand are inclined to, versus the younger people of today and what they want to be and what they want to look at.
Yeah. Unathi, whose side are you on? This side or that?
Okay, for now I was just on the young people side.
Okay, Jody, Chris, what do you think? Before we go to Ilham and Kayla.
Okay, so I just think the sexual education or the sexual discussion is one of those really deep ones, because it's a personal journey, but it's something that you want to be able to feel safe to discuss with your parents, and for parents to provide that platform. So the first thing is, you won't feel safe if you don't feel connected to your parents. And I think that's what it comes down to, the connection between the two. So that to be able to stay connected to your children, you have to know what's most important to them, what they love doing, who they love being around. And once you know that information and you provide a platform to be able to discuss it, I mean, we found that when we do that, you know, they start to talk to us about things. When we were children, when I was a child, it was taboo. I never spoke about this at all to my parents. So it was completely off the record topic. So I knew nothing about it from a high level education. So the only way I found out about it was through experience or through my peers, not through someone that could maybe educate me differently. But what we then decided, which is as parents, is that we wanted to be more open, to create a space where there was that constant communication. And we were fortunate enough that our daughter decided to have experiences when she was 4 years old. And I think it's personal. This topic's personal, so I'm giving you a personal share. And so when she was 4, she had her first boyfriend, which was a little boy. And already he was like 4. We found out that, you know, at school, like the teachers were horrified that he touched her. and kissed her and things like that. And
And
so,
what did Daddy say? And what did Daddy say?
Yeah, look, I mean, for myself, you know, I think it's very important to maintain some kind of openness. You know, as a child growing up, I also didn't have much exposure from my mom or my dad. You know, and everything that I learned myself was all self-discovery from my friends and, you know, wherever we went. And I think that you were just talking a little bit earlier. One of the most important things is that as you're growing up as a child, trying to find yourself in the world, you're going to have resistance, whether it's from your parents or outside people. And the important thing is to look at it is to see how these people are actually helping you know where you go. And you want to maintain some kind of connection with your parents. And as a parent myself, when I look at my own kids, sometimes it's hard to actually approach the subject with Daniel, my son. I'll ask him about it, and he doesn't want to talk about it. And I think it's important as a child to be brave enough to say, let's talk about sex. Can we actually just talk about sex, please? Because sometimes as a parent, you also don't know how to approach that subject, you know, and it can feel a little bit uncomfortable, you know. But we've also watched some of our other friends here in Australia that we've sort of made, you know, been long-time friends, family friends with Jodes, and they've maintained an exceptional openness with their own kids. And just watching how they've done it, it's just so easy. It's so easy for them to talk to each other about sex and any topic, drugs. They talk about very, very sensitive topics around the dinner table, you know. And I think if you're not finding that at your own, in your own environment, you need to work to try and create it. Don't give your power away, expecting someone to open the platform for you. You know, you must also try. You know, that would be my point of view.
Yeah, thanks. So, Ilham, do you think, like Chris is saying, that a child could be the one to speak to the parent? Do you think it's easy to do that?
No, not at all. Like, I think that puts a lot of pressure and like trauma on children to have to be the ones to take those first steps. And like Milka said, to parent together. I don't think that burden should fall on children at all, because it comes with a lot of, you know, long-term consequences to feel like you are responsible for, you know, developing your parents into the parents that they should be. And it's almost like what I've noticed with very religious and cultural communities or families is, as much as our parents are our elders, they are youth to their own elders. And, you know, generational morals and values that have been instilled by the older generations are very much also restricting our parents from being, you know, the parents that they really want to be. So whenever your child comes with like an issue, even if it's something like exploring sexuality, maybe, you know, thinking that they're part of LGBTQ plus community, your parents are not just thinking, you know, what are their views on it? They thinking, oh my gosh, what is the grandparents going to say? The aunties, the uncles, the whole community, because they have this fear of being judged for their parenting styles. And I've noticed that a lot. Like, parents want to become more open, they want to communicate more, but they have their own pressures and restrictions that they have to deal with. And again, that burden falls on children even further, because they feel like now they have to break generational cycles, like they're responsible for being the first one in their family to be different or to go against the norm. And it's a lot of pressure, and communication really doesn't come that easy when you know the extent of what you're dealing with, or how, like, what a big effect it's going to have on like an entire family.
Generationally.
Yeah, generationally. So I think the taboo with sex also comes from that, you know, generational taboo that has been like instilled. Even if your parents want to be like super cool about sex, they almost feel like they didn't have that with their own parents until today. They don't have that with their own parents, and they just, you know, feel like they're going to be judged if they do take a more free approach with their kids.
Mats, can I just say something there?
Okay. All right, Chris.
I just want to say that, you know, just to comment on that, your whole life is going to be like this. You're going to find yourself challenged everywhere that you go. It's in this era that you're at, you're going to be fighting to find out who you are as you develop, as you get older. Even myself, you know, it's a constant thing of trying to work out who we are in this world and where do we stand and our points on our beliefs and everything that we look around and try and achieve. So all I'm saying is don't give away your power to anyone else and else anything or that you find yourself in. Your whole life is going to be constantly seeking and learning and developing and evolving into the most authentic you that you can be, you know, and that's what you have to keep working at. And these little challenges that you are facing from your parents, there are little lessons inside there that help you to develop and refine who you exactly are. They're helping you to define who you want to be, you know. So you need some kind of challenge to make you think like, okay, well, I don't agree with what you're saying. I want to be this way. You know, if they just agreed with you, you would then question, well, do I even want that? You know, so you need that challenge. It's a blessing.
Awesome. Awesome. Kayla, what do you think? What can parents do?
I think that, I mean, if we just go back to the, you know, the theme that keeps coming up, you know, about that open dialogue in terms of sexuality, sexual health. I think that there for decades and centuries there's been so much shame around sex, whether it's heterosexual sex. Now, I mean, things have changed so much in terms of people being able to be themselves more openly, but I think that it's hard. Like, I really think that Ilham, like when she said this, was something that, like, I think I've thought about, but that, like, our parents were taught to be ashamed of talking about that stuff, and to start doing that now, for us to, I'm not saying that it should fall on us, but I do think that we are the generation that's come along and we are challenging norms. And it's something like I've done a little bit at home. I've pushed the envelope, maybe like had like, you know, pushed a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation with my mom and dad, and they're like, but you have to do it. And I think like what's cool is that we are old enough now, and we're kind of like, we have those parents that are like a little bit awkward about things like that. And like maybe that is somewhere where we can come in and say like and challenge it. I know for myself, one day I'm really keen to make sure that my kids know that they can come to me with anything, and I'd rather have that than, you know, I think in our minds it's always like we have the cool, like we have our lives where we're ourselves, and then we have our family life. It doesn't have to be separate, but a lot of us have lived like that where it has to be separate. So I think, all right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So from the youth, what is it that you want, what message do you want to send out to parents who may not be knowing how to approach their kids, or who may be too harsh on how their kids are expressing their sexuality? What is it that you want us to hear as parents?
If I can say a quick thing, I think what would you have appreciated at our age or when we were younger? What support would you have appreciated? Yeah.
Are you throwing it? Are you asking parents?
Like, yeah, to think about that. What would you have liked?
Thank you. Ilham, what can you say to parents?
Well, I think the first thing is that a safe space goes a long way. And I think someone mentioned it before. it's the kind of relationship you have with your parents. You know what I mean? So my first thing would be like to respect your child's space. And if it's something they don't want to speak about, you shouldn't force them or feel like they're obligated to have to divulge that information. Because if they know that you are there and if they have an ear, then they'll definitely come to you at their own time. I think that's number one. Number two, I hear everybody talking about parents are afraid of how they will be judged from their parents and stuff. But I feel like at that point in time, your main responsibility is like your child. Like I've seen lots of parents defend their kids because they're gay and the rest of the family just doesn't. So I think it puts like you need to ask yourself what's more important. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that parents you should start picking between grandparents and aunts and stuff like that. What I'm saying is that if you've got a child who maybe is not following the norm, they need to know that they have a safe space and that you'll always have their back. If your kid knows that you will always be there, you'll always have their back, no matter what happens, then you're cultivating that kind of relationship with them. So I would just say, I know it's probably not easy for a lot of people. Like, for example, if you find out that your child is part of the LGBTQI plus community, it's not easy for some parents, it won't be easy. But I think also just if your child comes forward with something that, okay, you feel like you can't tackle right now, I think it's okay to say, you know, I'd like to speak about this when I've done my research or know how to approach the situation. I think that's okay as well. But I think the most important thing is cultivating that kind of safe space and that kind of environment that your child knows that if something happens to them, they can come to you, or if they, any other situation when it comes to sexuality or when it comes to sexual reproduction or when it comes to relationships, they know it's okay. But also like respect the fact that they might not want to speak to you about those things as well. Like don't try to push and try to get answers out of them. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. No, thanks, Wins. So guys, you sent quite a number of topics that you want us to discuss. And I think we've given enough time, not enough, but considerable time to sexuality. I would like us to talk a bit about mental health and how parents don't understand. Is it that we don't understand, or what is your opinion? Because I've seen quite a lot of your questions and other people's questions, young people, talking about how parents are not understanding a mental illness. What would you like us to know?
Mm-hmm.
Ilham?
Okay, well, I guess like what I've noticed a lot is like parents seem to like not think that mental health is as, you know, prevalent as it actually is amongst youth. And yes, there has been a rise in things like anxiety and depression, you know, in the recent generations that maybe wasn't as prevalent back in our parents' time. But now it almost seems like, you know, kids don't always have an easy time going to their parents and say, I'm battling with depression or anxiety. And your parents like don't always see it as like a big deal. Like, you know, my kid needs help, they need therapy, they need counseling. Those type of resources also weren't readily available to our parents back in the day, whether it was, you know, financial or it was just like a moral belief that that stuff doesn't exist. But, you know, youth tend to just battle that on their own. They tend to not speak about, you know, it's funny, they'll tend to speak about mental health so openly on social media to complete strangers, but they're not speaking about it at home. Like your own family doesn't know you're depressed, but like Instagram knows you're depressed. But even if you don't speak about it publicly, you're still dealing with it alone because it's not a topic that's spoken enough intimately within families. It's spoken like, you know, there's movements going on, you know, externally, but I think internally, I guess I want to understand from parents, like, is mental health like not something that was, you know, an issue or as, you know, spoken about as much back in your day? And why does it seem almost awkward to like admit that you're having mental health struggles?
Thanks. Jody, do you want to come in there?
Okay. I think that mental health has been prevalent forever, but just the way that it's approached has changed. Definitely, just to add something interesting, I'm still talking a lot back to South Africa and to Ghana and to other countries, and it's quite different wherever you go. So you're 100% right. Even in Ghana today, psychologists and counselors are really not the thing to do. You know, you sort of look down upon if there's something wrong or if there's some kind of mental health. But I think because of COVID, everyone's getting a good slap of dose of mental health, you know, and mental illness. And so getting a personal encounter with it, maybe it didn't previously do it. So today I think we're all more well equipped of what it is like, you know, to walk the talk and walk that story. I think everyone's sort of gone through it. I certainly have had mine last year, a good go, and with anxiety. As a child, it was around, and once again, it wasn't something that people necessarily sought help for, you know. So I think that's difficult to understand. It's like toughen up is the thing you were told as a kid. Toughen up and just get through it, you know. But I think as people are allowed to really more, I think society is allowing more people like the LGBT to be who you are. It's more sort of open now in society. You know, you can kind of stand up and say, this is who I am, but there's a lot of things that come with that. And I think that the first spot as a parent, once again, is to be at home, you know, to provide a space where they can just talk, not necessarily to respond. But certainly, I think from my side, I would still be like, I'd rather try and look at how to get my child communicating, really see why are you feeling like you are, so that I can help you to see, you know, this is a short-term thing. Let's look at it. Let's see what the root cause is and help you to move through this stage of your life, because it's going to happen more than once.
Thanks. Milka, you were nodding quite a bit when Jody was speaking. Do you want to add?
I was agreeing with the point that, you know, mental health has been prevalent, but we were made to toughen up, you know, to be strong, and we were not entertained to say that I'm depressed, I am, you know, feeling sick of anxiety or anything that is mentally related. And what stands out in my head through this topic is that people are not the same. Like, you know, you have 3 type of child personalities, where you have an adoptive child, you have a natural child, and you have a professor. When you have these children in your house, a professor is easy, you know, understands, want to show you that they know things, they understand every domain that holds life for them. An adoptive child is a supportive child, but you have a natural child who, you know, want to do things their way. And that child of a type of a natural child is a difficult child, because of they want to talk when they want to talk, and they don't want to talk when they do not want to talk. So it makes it difficult for parents. And that's why I am agreeing with the fact that you need to create a safe space, but also as parents, you know, you are called to do a lot of observation in terms of what is your child doing. You know, if it's 3 different child in your household, you need to engage with them differently as well. So that's why I'm thinking that communication and self-awareness, you know, if parents would say to children that, you know what, I see who you are, what type of a child you are, you don't want to talk, you are erratic, and you're making it difficult, so that they also become aware of their personality and their attitude, you know. And mental health, I think it's just something that is part of the game, you know. Chris had said that in life you will continuously search and find and try to fit in the person that you want to be. So it's not an easy thing. Life is a learning care for as long as we exist, but we have to kind of, you know, struggle with it. And I think it's meant to be that way. There are challenges in challenges, there are lessons. In those lessons, you become who you become. So mental health is what it is. And if people are going to entertain it, yes, you can to a particular extent, but you will find parents who are that type of natural parents who like, I don't owe you anything, deal with it. You know, come talk to me when you want to talk to me. It's just refining communication, but it is hard and complex as personalities are.
Kayla, what do you think? We've had a few opinions of, do you think what the parents are saying is something that can work for the youth? Is it something that could be doable? Providing safe spaces? Are the youth receptive to that? When a parent is trying to embrace them and to allow them to speak, are the youth ready for that?
I think, I don't know, I think I'm so aware of different individuals reacting differently. Like you get, I'm the type of kid that would say I need help, and I can go and be vulnerable with my parents. But I have friends who I know aren't willing to speak out and say I need help or I'm not okay. I think it's so dependent on the individual. I don't think that I think even in our generation, I don't think you can, you know, have a blanket approach. I think it really does take like looking a little bit deeper. But something that, like, while we've been talking, that just crossed my mind is, I don't know, maybe not asking you as parents directly, maybe you can answer this, or maybe you know, maybe you have insight from your peers, but do you think that parents sometimes struggle with their children having mental health issues because they feel like it's an attack on them, almost like they've done something wrong? Do you think that comes into play? It's something I wondered.
Yeah, Unathi, answer that please for us. Yeah.
Wow. Sure. It's a very challenging question. I feel what you say, but sure, it's very hard because how would a parent really approach that? Because we say we've got all these communication tools and everything. I'm sitting here as a parent. When I heard you talk about that, it set me a little bit aback because I have to apply my mind when it comes to a child or someone that is younger than me talking about mental health. You know, guys, where I grew up in the townships, mental health is seen like you're an outcast. You are this deranged child. You are bewitched. You are completely outside of the box, completely. And then at school, they label you. And in the workplace, as a young person, you feel inferior if you have a mental health challenge. So mental health today, I don't think is much different than it was in my time, which is in the 90s and 80s. So it's a very, very sensitive topic. I think partly adults don't know how to deal with young people and mental health. I don't think they fully know how to engage them. And I think it's a space where we need to learn together, to learn about what happens in our lives together with children with mental health. I've got a cousin of mine. He's autistic. He's been autistic from a young age. I think he's now about 18. And sure, it's been a struggle. And until an adult, it affects them, they'll apply their mind, they'll learn about what's going on and everybody that surrounds that child. But I think we are much influenced by what society tells us when it comes to mental health and young people, because for me, it's about paying attention to what really is. what the other person is thinking about themselves, when what do they see, and it's a very broad kind of discussion. So Kayla, to be honest, it would take parents really investing in not just communication, but information that would serve the other person that's more seem to be affected by mental health. So parents need to change their whole outlook when it comes to things like that. My children are younger. They could be affected by mental health, but the question would be, what would I do with it? If I have a peer that has a young person that's mentally challenged, how would I approach or give advice to the person? And mine would be, the parents need to pay attention and start focusing on the needs of the child so that they equip the child to also help themselves. And I think with human behavior, we have a lot of tools that we can offer to young people to be able to equip themselves to more liberate their kind of perception about themselves and where they are at a particular time.
Okay, thanks. Guys, do you think what we are discussing now, especially with what the parents have said, do you think that it's something that can help other parents out there to be more understanding and to know what to do or what they can do, the minimum that they can do to try and support you as the youth? Bontle, what are your thoughts?
I was actually going to ask the parents a question. I don't know if we have enough time to cover it, if I'm supposed to address the question. I was going to ask, on the topic of discipline, to hit or not to hit? Like, what do you guys think?
I was going to talk about discipline. And
but she says to hit or not to hit. That's not even discipline.
No. It you know what discipline is. Let us break down discipline. What discipline is when you bring in measurement to correct a behavior that is not accepted. You know, that's how I understand discipline to be. So then you have discipline whereby you can use corporal punishment, that is to hit, and not to hit is to communicate. You make somebody understand, you know, what is wrong, what is accepted, what is not accepted. But what stands out is that communication. It takes me to the elements of the brain, like our prefrontal part of the brain has features that makes us human, and those include language. For me, if you say not to hit, it means that you need to know how to influence your child, whoever that you live with that needs to hear from you, is to communicate in an effective way that makes someone to understand, to say, this is what is the problem. This is what the problem is. When you know what is right and wrong, you will try and choose things that are reasonable, that would put you on the right side of things. And then you would also understand that when you are not going to do things that are not correct, you know, by agreement of what are values, standards, you know, I talk about standards that you would hold in your household as rules. You know, somebody needs to understand that we ask you to do this, we want you to listen, but it's a pity life is not as straight as it is. You know, human beings have instinctive drives whereby the things that you are passionate about, you want to do them, and you enjoy, you have fun in you know, stealing that sugar, in stealing, you know, something that is not yours. Then you are to be disciplined for things like those. So whether to discipline or not to discipline, it comes from parents who understand what is it that they want to teach their children. how to communicate, because of also when you hit you know, give corporal punishment, what are you teaching them? But when you communicate things clearly, you also teaching them that part of language to say that this is what I want to see, this is what I expect of you, and can we work together?
Okay, I'm gonna say hit or not hit. Let's vote. Hit or not hit? Do we hit kids?
Both.
Both.
Yes.
That was the question. Hit or not hit?
I say both.
To be honest,
Hit
some people
and not
will
hit.
smack. Some people
Okay,
will
to the
smack.
youth. Yeah, to the youth. What do you think? Do you think hitting you at your age or younger is okay or not? Does it help? To the youth. Guys, I'm asking you.
I don't know if my parents are watching. I mean, I wouldn't hit my own kids because I feel like times have changed and it's become like a big like no, like corporal punishment. But I mean, like my siblings and I have grown up with our fair share of like hiding. And I don't think it like scarred me at all. Like I'm not traumatized. It was not like hectic. It was just genuinely like, if you do something silly when you're small, like, you know, your mom or dad's gonna whack you. And like, I think it did help, in a funny way. Like it did help like to know like right from wrong, but when we were much smaller. Hitting at this age, no, like we young adults now, you don't need to like hit, just use your words. But yeah, I don't think it was as bad as it sounds, like hitting back then. But obviously that's in a different context. Like, there are people out there that genuinely do abuse their children, and that like I don't stand for. So I think it's just safer to say like no hitting.
Yeah, would you say that sometimes parents take their own frustrations out on kids? Would you say that happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an instinct.
Okay. Okay, Chris?
I was just saying, from thinking from my point of view, when I was a kid, I also used to get hit, and we got hidings, especially from my dad. And one of the things that I really respect him for is that he never lashed out. He didn't smack us in anger or anything. Mm-hmm. He would often send us to the bedroom and make us wait there, and which was the most painful thing ever, because you just that was horrifying. And then when he would come to the bedroom, you would have to go and pick out the belt and then he would have a discussion with you, and then he would talk to you about it, and then we would all discuss, not all, sometimes it was my brothers too, and he would get our point of view, and then he would explain why he's going to give us a hiding, you know. And so it was very clear as to the whole structure of it, and then there was a certain age where that just stopped, you know. And so in our own parenting style over here, we don't hit our kids because we believe that we have discovered a more valuable tool. And to Milka's point, that is effective levels of communication and understanding values. You know, if you can do one thing in your life, that would be to really master the art of understanding values and how to communicate in other people's values. Because once you understand that tool, and I think this is a valuable tool for all parents, and not only parents, but the youth and any person walking on this earth, because it's pretty much how we make decisions on a daily basis. And if you understand how to communicate in somebody else's values, there's no need to resort to a physical discipline, because you have effective levels of communication, you know, and you can understand how to communicate with someone and show them the way or help enlighten them, you know. So that's our position now. Just a quick example. Daniel loves to play Fortnite. He loves gaming. He could do it all day, every day. In fact, he does. And, you know, when we need things done, we know that that is a tool for us to use, you know, and we use those tools to get what we need from him, because we need things from him. You know, we need him to act responsibly, or we'd love for him to act responsibly, or it's a communication platform, you know. So we look
just out of interest, Chris, when you selected a belt, did you select a leather one or a cloth one or a soft one? Which one?
Probably he only
one.
had studded ones, Mats, and that was the problem. He only had studded belts. No, I'm joking. But they were leather.
So many people say this. Like, you're not the first person. I think at least 60% of, especially boys that I've spoken to, have gone through the, my dad made me pick the belt.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a South African practice, but it happens often.
All right, guys, before we close, your time flies so much. I just want us to discuss social media, the toxicity of social media, because I know it's one of the questions that a lot of young people talk about. We think it's toxic sometimes. You think that sometimes your own friends become addicted to social media. What are your thoughts? I'm going to give this time to the three of you to tell us so that we understand as parents.
I personally feel like social media is just a representation of the world. Some of the people you meet on social media exist in the real world. So if we're talking about kids that are really young, I personally believe a 10-year-old is not supposed to have a phone and social media. It's way I don't understand why you need a phone for. You're going to school, you're coming back. What do you need your phone for? I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to drop you off, I know where you're going. But then you get to a point where I know that there are some parents who hold on to that whole thing of, I'm not going to give them a phone. So a person's in high school or something. And then where they're going to see things, they're going to see it from their friends. And again, you have that miscommunication. So I do believe that social media is toxic to some level, but I think it's an extremity for parents because we're in this fourth industrial, very technologically fueled environment. But I feel like we can deal with it because we grew up with it. But I think from a parent's perspective, looking at it, they get a little bit worried, easy access. You know what I mean? You've got platforms like TikTok and you've got predators and you've got all these fears. But all I'm saying is that the same fears that existed when you were kids exist when we're there. It's just different mediums. So I think definitely social media can be toxic. It can be toxic for your self-esteem, but so was looking at magazines when you're a kid and wondering why I don't look like that or why I don't have that kind of body. So I think that's the way we should measure social media and its toxic, how toxic it is. And also I know the question of it being addictive is also there, but I feel like parents should understand that we grew up with technology, so our relationship with technology won't be the same way as your relationship with technology, if that makes sense.
Kayla, what are your thoughts?
I think that social media is actually really can be really, really bad for young people, especially more sensitive people. I think that, I have social media. I spend a lot of time on it. But it definitely, I think that if you're going through a tough time and you're seeing everyone that you follow posting the amazing things going on in their life, you have this warped idea of that everyone else is living an amazing life and I'm going through something, and then I think you end up feeling very alone. You feel, I just think that kids need to be aware of how realistic it is, and I don't think that they are. I don't think that they are.
All right, Ilham, what are your thoughts? Nothing.
I also think social media can be very toxic, and it's sad because, the world is becoming more digital and technological, and there's a lot of, good things that you can use social media for, with the global economy changing, but the effects that it has on mental health and insecurities and what children are exposed to, I think it's very dangerous. And the difference with our generation, us that's in our mid-20s, is we kind of grew up on that fence between just before social media and as social media came. I can remember, the days before even Mixit. I remember when Mixit came out, and having my first BlackBerry. So we still experienced childhood without social media and we transitioned into it. But the new generation, I look at my sisters, and my younger sister's 15, and her world is completely different to mine, and it's very influenced by social media. And I think, for parents, intervention or regulation with social media before they can navigate the world completely on their own is very necessary. Because especially for young girls, I think, yes, magazines were always there, but social media has made things a lot more accessible. And it's something as simple as just seeing how girls look on social media. And all of a sudden, like, a 15-year-old is like, I need to look like that. And it messes with your mind from such a young age. And it's real, but it's also, it distorts reality, social media. But young people can't like distinguish between between that.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So what would be the role of parents in advising their kids around social media? Just in closing, because we are out of time now, just a minute or so. What is the role of parents in advising their kids about social media?
I think parents need to keep up to date with social media. Like, often I see parents who themselves don't know how to use social media, don't know like what's on it. They just like technologically, like incapable. Technologically challenged. And I think that's a problem because, that's just limiting parents' own knowledge of what's like really on there. So I think parents themselves need to keep up to date with, what are the trends, like what is on TikTok, what is on Instagram, even what's on PlayStation, Chris, and, be able to also create that safe space for your kids to come to you and be like, I'm not sure if like I can like watch this video, or like, is it okay if I join this trend? It should be that open that exactly what your kids are exposed to.
Thank you. Just in closing, I'll go around. Yes, Jody, and then I'll go to Unati.
I was just going to say, I 100% agree. That's such great advice. We play with our kids.
We play the games.
And when they want, Daniel's gone into the social media world now, being 13, and he had to present to us to go on Instagram. So he had to research the drawbacks and the benefits.
I love that.
He could only be approved to use it when he told us how he's not going to get addicted and how he's going to manage himself. And he had to do a big PowerPoint presentation, stand up, speak to us, and then we approved him.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we agree. We need to stay up to date. It's really hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But we find our space.
But I'm quite addicted to Fortnite now as well. And now that's a problem.
Okay, so this is not a youth thing. It's not a youth problem. So even parents sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, we have run out of time, but I just want to ask a question to the youth. Do you think from this session that we've touched on something that can help you, that can help other parents out there to say, okay, this is how our children feel, and maybe I can try to implement some of the things? Do you think we touched on something that can help?
Yeah.
Ilham, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, Kayla?
Definitely. Having this conversation, I think just starting the conversation is the best thing that parents can possibly do.
Bontle?
Yeah, definitely.
You're the social media queen.
All I'm saying is that I work in social media and even I can't keep up. So good luck with that. It's a big world, but the platforms do understand that they have a responsibility to protect people who are underage. As Ilham said, like, just stay up to date with it. Just don't exclude your child from the world because you're insecure about what might happen to them. That's not the way you want to go. Social media is a real reality. You just need to be able to deal with it and how you're going to cope with it and deal with it. So, I also feel like everybody's experiences are different. Like, even when I talk about mental health, I think over here we've got some pretty urban parents and a more progressive thought process. But you do definitely have parents who are in the rural areas and don't understand this concept of mental health. There isn't even a vernacular word for mental health. It doesn't even exist in the language. So You know what I mean? So maybe this conversation can help a lot of people. I feel like it does. But I think in other parts of the world, in other parts of the area, we need to give parents a little bit more time. You know what I mean? Not force them to just speed through this process of just understanding everything their kids have to say.
Thank you.
So baby steps.
Thank you so much.
Baby steps.
All right. Milka. Oh, Unati, then Milka. Then we're closing. We're over time now.
I agree with you guys. The social media thing. Okay. I'm borderline with social media, so I'm very much prone to that. So I can't say yeah or nay. So with my kids, Fortnite, it can really get addictive. Oh, I've had to ship the PS4 to another province. It gets addictive for me, guys. So if I can't control myself, I need to know. But children also with social media, I think it's they need to be comfortable with platforms like that as well. You need to monitor. So parents just need to keep up. As times change, parents need to keep up. So I'm keeping up, but I think I do get addicted.
Thank you. Thanks, Unati. Milka, and we'll be. Milka, last few words.
Come again.
Last few words.
Oh, okay.
We're closing. We're over time now.
You know, with social media, with mental health, with everything that we are, I think we need to understand the evolution that is happening in our present and build yourself on areas that will benefit you in life. Things that doesn't benefit you, be mindful of time, because of you going to use your time on things that don't benefit you. And 10 years, it's a very short time. Also, it can be a long time, but when it's wasted, it's painful.
Thank you. Those are wise words.
Can I just say?
Ken. Chris, short, yes.
Shortly, just my parents. You take it slow with your parents, and you know, my parents use Facebook way more than I do, which has been amazing to them. And this technology evolution train is not stopping for anybody. So my suggestion is get with it and keep up and learn as much as you can and educate for everyone, not just kids, but for, you know, everybody needs to, because it's moving and it's not stopping.
And it's not going to stop.
No.
And we just love having the three of you on. I just want to say quickly, it's just been phenomenal, insightful for Chris and I. We've been nodding and silently having little that was really good point, Bontle, and just thank you so much for your shares.
Thank you. Thanks to the brilliant young people that we have here on this platform tonight. And I'm hoping that whatever we have discussed here is the beginning for many other people to get started with the conversations between parents and children. So I hope we all get it now and we can be able to start somewhere knowing that this is where we want to go. So thank you all so much for participating. And I look forward to engaging with you some more on different topics. I really love working around issues that affect young people. So we are going to be tackling quite a lot of other topics on this platform to try and see how we can assist, how we can help young people in today's times, because it's very challenging for a lot of young people out there. So thank you and good night. Chris, is your hand up again?
No, just saying thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
But just
Good
1
morning.
second. Bye.
Good
Bye.
morning.
Bye-bye.
Good
Bye,
morning.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Good evening, guys. Have a